We're now going to move on to the panel discussion, and if I can invite our panellists out, I'll introduce them to you as they're seating. Firstly, we have Darren Peters, who will be sitting in the middle, I think, with a nice suit and red tie. His wife dresses him very well, he tells me. Darren's the Director of Campus Wellbeing and really works to build the whole sense of wellbeing and support services for student life. Next to Darren is Angela Vorman, who is the Manager of Student Engagement. And Angela has probably one of the jobs that most people think is the fun job. And it's about working with our student groups and all our non-academic environments and trying to engage students as far as possible with the sort of interests that they may wish to pursue while they're here. Professor Sherman Young, who you've met, and certainly last but not least is Nadala Barker, who's one of our current students here at Macquarie studying a Bachelor of Primary Education. And she's majoring in social justice and is also one of our mentors for Indigenous youth as part of our Indigenous leadership program, and recently was a joint scholarship awardee of Dunmore College. So we're very honoured to have Nadala here with us this evening. Now, again, the questions that I'm going to direct at the panel to start with have already come from you. And in your registration, they were identified as some critical questions. I will try and get back to a question that you had prior to the panel starting, but also these people will be around afterwards. So if we don't get to answer all your questions, we will definitely have time afterwards. Now, the first one's directed at all of the panel, and it's around transition into university life. And as already has been expressed, it can be quite daunting. And really what I'd like to try and help our audience here this evening to understand is what is the difference between high school and what opportunities should students try and take advantage of. So I'd like to start with Nadala, if I can.
Well, I believe that the biggest difference between high school and university is the freedom and the opportunity that you have at university. I mean, people can tell you to a certain extent just how much there is, but it's only if you go out there and you try things and experiment with things and just give it 200% with everything that you try, and that's what you'll get that real reward out of, and just go for it, 200% in everything. And if it fails, well, then that's what these guys are for. I mean, that's true. Like, I changed 3 of my units in my first semester. I was like, yeah, I'll do advanced math. I got there, I was like, nope. It was just like, it's okay. You just go, try things, do it 200%, and if it works, and if it doesn't, then go sit down.
So, Angela, what are some of the ways that students can engage in terms of the groups and different organisations that you have?
Well, Sherman mentioned the mentors, and so I'll start with them because they're the groups of students that you'll meet first when you're coming to the university. They're students who have realised that they want to help other students understand what's going on in their classes and understand a little bit about the disciplines that they're in. So that's a support that's oriented towards the learning environment, but it's directed by students and informed by the experiences that they've had as well. Then there's the student groups, and we have about 160 student groups, and we've got, how many sporting clubs have we got? About 20 sporting clubs as well. So there are a lot of opportunities for students to find things that they're interested in or just taste different kinds of experiences. So Nadala mentioned that she's into social justice. We've got a whole lot of groups that, like United Nations Society or Amnesty International or Greenpeace, groups of students who've got together to link the work that they're doing at university and the relationships that they have here with a wider social purpose. But we've got fun groups, and it's true, I do get all the fun. So we've got Quidditch Society, we've got little dance groups, drama groups that put on plays, law review who do silly things all of the time and perhaps then turn into comedians that you'll see on television every night. So there's everything that you could think of, and if it's not there, then you can start something. That's the way that student groups work. And the other opportunity for participation is in this aspect of community building in the university that Bruce has talked about, and that's in student representation. So we have a student advisory body in the university. Students can run for election for that, or they can get appointed to it from the work that they're already doing in student groups or within their faculties. And that's a real way of contributing to the ongoing sustainability of the university and the way that we do things. So there's lots of ways that they can engage, and really they just have to drop in to see us, and we can put them in touch with students who will show them on the way.
Thanks, Ange. Darren, how do students or parents, I guess is another example, deal with the stress and the pressure that might come about in that first year? How do you deal with the parent who might ring and say, I've got a problem with my son or daughter? And how does the student themselves deal with that?
This university has some wonderful research done by national leading research through the Centre of Emotional Health. And the top 5 worries of Australians right now about future career, are about achievements for the future, are about what people think of them, and about doing well at whatever they do. And so that sort of relates to the parents as well as the students. We've surveyed the students and we essentially find the same things. So to the broad question of what is university life like, for most students it's pretty good. There's really only less than 5% who have trouble come to our services. So the services that can help them are the counselling and psychological services, welfare, chaplains, career and employment on a development or positive front with a goal of what do I do after university, or how do I get a job while I'm at university. We have services as welfare and advocacy, which deals with more process-related things where people have troubles with processes of the university. So there's a range of services. And very few students actually, when you look at the whole population, come to those services, but they're there, they're ready to go.
Thanks very much, Darren. I guess the other question, and Sherman just skipped over this word timetabling.
He did.
Now, we're not going to let him get away with that, so we want him to spend a couple of minutes just talking to all of you about what is timetabling and how it works.
Timetabling, yeah. Look, it's a really interesting question that we often get from students, and it comes in the form of, oh, I really want to get all of my subjects in one day, so I only have to come onto campus once, or something along those lines. And we simply have to point out to them that the timetable is a pretty complex beast when you think about it. We have each session of study upwards of 1,000 units of study, several hundred rooms, staff that have to teach various combinations of those classes. And it's kind of like, I guess the way to think about it is, imagine Sydney Airport where you've got 200 or 300 flights leaving and having to coordinate the different landings and takeoffs and gates and everything. It's like that. So there's a gentleman who sits behind a desk very stressed out right through the second half of the previous year, trying to coordinate a timetable. And he has some help from some interesting software, but trying to coordinate a timetable to suit all the various demands. And then you add into that the sad reality of university enrolment is until you guys actually choose your units and subjects and classes over the next couple of weeks, online or on campus, until you actually do that, we actually don't know how many classes we have to run. So it's a very complex, dynamic set of variables that has to be pulled together. And somehow we manage to do it. So occasionally if you go up to your convener and say, I really want to do this class on Tuesday afternoon because it's the only day I come to campus, and you get a rolled eyebrow, that's probably why, because it's a challenge. Sometimes it can be accommodated, sometimes it can't. And it's just one of those very complex kind of time and space management issues that an institution like a university has to deal with. Does that kind of answer the question, Dee?
Does that help? Yep. Good. Yeah.
Anyone that can help, please. Oh, Vice
Maybe
Chancellor.
Nadala might like.
The key to getting a good timetable is the day it opens, be the first on. And that's about it.
See, this is one of the great myths that...
To a certain extent. And don't be too fast if it doesn't turn out quite well.
Actually, the key to getting a good timetable, we're going to dueling microphones, is to keep trying. Because students will move in and out of class. So if you hop onto eStudent and you haven't got the class that you want, try again a bit later. It may free up. That's really the only way to do it. The get in early sometimes works, but I think the timetable
For
management
units that are
and
busy,
class
it works.
management process is a little bit more
It's
sophisticated.
an example of great debate that goes on between lecturers and students. Go on,
No,
Nadala.
and if you do have a 1 hour break or a 2 hour break between your classes, don't be too annoyed about it. It's just a great opportunity to be on campus and, you know, be a part of the clubs, meet new people. So it can be a bit annoying if you like start at 8 and you have your next one at 3 p.m, but it's all right. The university is good, so it's
I
fine.
think the Vice Chancellor had a question about the timetable.
Exercise, Vice Chancellor, privilege.
You may.
Okay. This is all very technical stuff. I want to actually address another aspect of this, and that is the notion of part-time, full-time studenthood. Well, what I mean by that is the notion that it's very customary these days for Australian university students, no different here, to cram a full-time load into 3 days a week, or 3.5 days a week, in the service of, usually, being able to work for pay, sometimes a long way away from the university, and that's often 2 or 2.5 days a week. It's common in Australia, unlike other parts of the world, particularly the US, that your social network often stays your high school mates, as opposed to developing a sense of community within this part-time excursion through a university. And so I would urge you to think back on words of a wonderful man who is a former Chancellor of this university, Mr. Justice Michael Kirby, former High Court judge, was a Chancellor of this university. He's written a wonderful book of biography about his life. He's a remarkable man. He's retired from the judiciary some years ago. He's currently the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights for Korea, North Korea, and is doing important work around the world for the WHO about AIDS. He's a GLBTI activist as a gay man himself. He's written a wonderful biography which ends with a wonderful statement which he tells to himself, "If only I could smell the roses." So I would urge you to think, as you plan your life, this window of university will come and go in a flash. Don't cram it so full of trying to pack study into a small amount of time. Work to support the lifestyle which you want to have in Sydney with eating out and expensive partying and travel. I get all of that. But please, along the way, students, stop and think, take a little time for yourselves, just to step back, think about things. And parents, it's okay to ask your youngsters, what are you doing to smell the roses? Thanks for the input.
Okay, well, I guess the other question now that we've talked a little bit about the technical elements of timetabling is how you actually get your units working and how you actually select the units. And I think, Sherman, we might start with you again about some methodologies that might help the students and the parents to understand how these units are actually selected and why you might choose one over the other.
Okay, well, there's two types of units really that you need to think about. The first is, as I alluded to earlier, the stuff that is not up for grabs, the core units. There are things in your program of study that you have to do. And so whether you like it or not, if you wish to complete that program of study, you have to complete those units. The other types of units that you will be thinking about are what we call electives. Now, electives at Macquarie essentially mean that you have a choice of anything in the undergraduate programs that we offer across the campus that you can imagine. So if you're an accounting student, providing you've actually done the core units, if you feel like enrolling in dance, you can. If you're a philosophy student and you want to enrol in stats, you can. The idea is we like to encourage breadth. We'd like to encourage some exploration of new, interesting ideas. But what often happens at enrolment when you talk to students is they say, well, what should I do for my electives? I don't know what to do. And the instinctive response is, well, you've got actually an opportunity to do one of two things. Either explore something that you already love in more detail. So you might be an accounting student, but you might have this passion for French. So go and do French. Really do tertiary level French and see if you can really get into it. Or, alternatively, pick something that you never would have imagined you'd be interested in and watch what happens. One of the great stories that I hear is from a student who came here to do a Bachelor of Advanced Science in microbiology, really focused, really keen research scientist. And she got involved in the debating club and met some philosophy students. Ended up doing philosophy as a second degree and has now decided that her passion is actually in science communication, combining, if you like, the various disciplines that she's engaged in. So you never know what might happen if you just try something new. And it's not for everybody, not saying it's for everybody, but for some people it's a wonderful opportunity to expand their horizons and one they should take advantage of.
Now those units, there's all sorts of different assessments and examinations that are required. And Darren, I was hoping just with this question, it appears to be something that's come up from quite a few of the parents in terms of what provision is made to assist students to support them with their examinations and assessments.
We have a range of students who need special consideration because they might have a mental health illness or a disability. And separate to that, there's issues that arise where there's a discussion with an academic advisor and themselves in a class about their needs and their learning needs and whether they're keeping up with the pace of learning. So the university has occupational therapists employed. We also have disability services, a large bundle of people that can help to assess a student or facilitate assessment. And we write a plan and we deal with our partners and colleagues to get the best plan for the student during the session and throughout the year. And so this can go on for 3 and 4 years in a row. And so it's always usually student by student, case by case, and there's a range of supports there that are available. Separate to that, we have a care line at the other end of the spectrum, a 1-800 number, a care line for all students that they get, a card, and they can ring that any time and be referred to straight away to the most appropriate service that they need. Yeah, and it's on the back of the student card, so you'll see the number there.
Okay, thanks, Darren. While you've got the mic, if you could also answer some questions around the international exchange program. Quite a few of the parents were interested in how that works, how you get to go overseas on programs that might be integrated into your study. And while you're there, maybe Sherman can give a quick update on the PACE program and how that works as well.
Okay, thanks. The exchange is really exciting. It's an opportunity for students who get a GPA or a grade point average of about 2.5 or above, a chance to go overseas and study for a period of time, 6 months or a year, and to sometimes the opportunity of short courses to actually go overseas in a break, in our normal break, or during a normal session and study in a place in a similar course that they would have done here at Macquarie. We have over 160 relationships with different institutions, and the Vice-Chancellor and his executive are really firming up the nature of those relationships, making sure there's a really valuable and deep exchange between the partners so that we can care for each other's students and actually learn different learnings that can happen across these boundaries. So scholarships range from $500 through to $2,000. We have a focus on Asia right now, particularly, to make sure we have some really good exchange with our Asian colleagues. And we would have about 1,200 to 1,500 students going on exchange in any given year.
Thanks, Darren.
So the PACE program is, we think, one of the signature programs at Macquarie. And PACE stands for Professional and Community Engagement. The acronym is actually nicer than the phrase, but it's a wonderful program where we're working towards a situation where every undergraduate student gets the opportunity to actually engage in an off-campus, on-site, work-integrated program of study as part of their curriculum. Now, we have, at the moment, upwards of 600 partnerships with companies ranging from Deloitte to Microsoft at one end of the scale, through to the UN overseas, and at another end of the scale to North Ryde Council, to NGOs locally and internationally. And the idea is that students engage with these professional community organisations in an integrated and really well-developed academic context so that they can apply their university learning in a professional environment. And the feedback we've had from the partners and the students is that it's often the very best part of their degree. It's often the bit that has really affected their life the most, because they've managed to take something which was, you know, to a certain extent theoretical, and apply it and turn it into something real, whether it's an experience in, like I said, the local council, or whether it's experience in Bangkok or Peru or somewhere internationally. So the PACE program is something that is, it's about 5 years old now, it's growing, and we're very keen to ensure that every student gets as large a PACE opportunity as possible.
Thanks, Sherman. The other question that was asked was around accommodation. What do you do if you need to find a place to stay, whether you're interested in a college environment or in a homestay environment or within an alternative accommodation provision? So Angela's just going to give a quick rundown. There are quite a bit of information about this in the information booklet as well, so we'll just quickly...
Right, so in the information booklet, there's a little description of the different kinds of accommodation that we have. We've got 2 colleges on campus. There's Dunmore Lang College and Robert Menzies College. We have various kinds of apartment-based living on campus. So there are townhouses that are like big share houses that students can go to, or small units where they go and share with other students. We've got some brand new apartments that have just opened up near Epping Boys High School, up on Epping Road, that are closer to, they're beautiful little studio apartments, so students can cook in those as well. And then we've got Macquarie University Village, which is about 900 beds, and that's a whole series of small shared townhouses, but all within walking distance of the university. And the thing that unifies all of those on-campus kinds of accommodation are that they have supportive study programs on the whole and pastoral programs. So someone's there keeping an eye on them and linking them in with campus. We've also got one other kind of accommodation, which is a large block of accommodation that's opened up down at Chatswood. And again, that's designed for students. It's brand new. It's run by Igloo. But all of these are just names. What you can do is go to the accommodation office that's on campus, and it's down in the campus hub, and talk about what you're looking for, and you'll get some assistance with looking for that.
Alternatively, you can go on the website. Again, you can log in your inquiries, you can look at all the accommodation, you can see how other students have matched the accommodation, and it gives you an opportunity to maybe short-circuit some of the inquiries that you might have. I just want to finish off with Nadala, a question for you. How did you make that transition easy for you in that first year? What were some of the key little gold nuggets that you learnt that you might be able to pass on to the other students and their parents?
Some of the key things... go to your lectures. It seems like a very broad thing to say, but it isn't. Go to your lectures, even if they're 8 a.m. on a Monday, go to your lectures. You can be on campus, you will meet people, and you learn so much better. That was really my big golden one. Even though it's very tempting when a lot of them are recorded, but that's not what they're for. They're recorded so that you can listen to them again, not go to your lecture. Also, learn to ask for help. It's very tempting when you come to university to want to do your own thing, to want to be independent. I know I was exactly like that. I'm from Broome, from a really big family, and I was like, I'm going to Sydney, doing my own thing. And it was great, but after a while you do need to ask for help and accept the help when it's given to you. And yeah, even if that helps from your parents, which is often one that we don't want to accept. I don't think I've talked to my parents as much since I've started university as I have after I moved out of home and stuff. It's very nice. And yeah, just don't stress out too much. I mean, you've all worked hard to be here, parents and students, dealing with the stress of the HSC, but now it's over. So just don't stress too much. Enjoy learning, enjoy meeting people, enjoy trying new things, just enjoy university because it's fun and it's exciting and you're really entering a new stage in your life that when you look back on it, it's pretty cool. So yeah, enjoy and make the most of everything.
Thank you very much. Well, if I could just ask you to share with me in thanking the panellists for being here tonight.